The way we treat our characters, I think, and the way we create our worlds and bring audiences into those worlds, especially for me, I think that's a very female trait, but I think it's also extremely commercial. It makes commercial sense to take subject matters that, someone like me can bring these kind of expertise to. And I think at the end of the day, we do live, it's an industry, we're in an industry. And so...
It makes sense to represent the people within that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it also, people are looking for the commercial element. And so what I'm saying makes commercial sense, as well as political sense.
So Gurinder saw me in a TV show. I guess she thought it was alright, or I was alright. Then I went in once with just 2 casting directors, then in once with Gurinder and 2 casting directors, in again. And then I got a call saying I got it, which is grand. Yeah, that's it.
I saw him, and actually I did see a couple of other guys too. And in fact, I loved the guy who plays Roops as well. He had a great charm about him, but he felt very much like Roops. So when he walked in, I knew I would cast him as the friend. But I think with Viveik, what I really had to believe was that he was a kid who sat in his room and wrote poetry. And that's a hard thing, actually, because a lot of young actors are quite streetwise and just different. And he had a kind of, I guess, a tortured side, that came over in his readings, and also growth. I could, see the growth of the character in him. So the film is based on a book by Safraz Manzoor. Safraz is like a super fan of Bruce's. He's seen him 150 times, and so much so that Bruce recognizes him at concerts because he's like probably the only Pakistani in the audience, and he's got a big afro. And so, he was somewhere, and Bruce was like, "Man, what are you doing in Pittsburgh?" So he's done a lot of interviews with Bruce because he's a journalist. So when Safraz wrote his book and gave it to me, I said, "I know how to make this film, and I know how to do it, but we have to get Bruce on side." And in 2010. Bruce was attending the premiere of his film, The Promise, in London, and I was invited, and so I took Safraz as my +1, and we were like, okay, we're gonna have to try and make this work, I don't know how. And so we stood on the red carpet, hoping to take photographs with him, and as he walked down the red carpet, he bananaed and walked over to Safraz and said, "Man, I read your book, it's really beautiful." And so Safraz started hyperventilating, and then I ran over and sort of seized the moment and said, "Hi Bruce, my name's Gurinder, I'm a film director, I made Bend It Like Beckham, yada yada. We really want to make a film of the book, it was so great you love the book." You dream of those moments and you think, I'm gonna be really cool. I was the opposite. And then he kind of looked at Safraz and me and just went, "Sounds good, sounds interesting. Talk to John." And John Landau was behind him, and so then we made contact with John Landau and Barbara Carr and Tracy Nurse, and then we kept in touch with them. But we knew from that moment, once we'd had that nod from Bruce, that we had to write a script that he was going to love. And what we did was, we wrote a script, and then I worked with Safraz on the songs, and we did have access to kind of every song he had written prior to 1987, but less is more. There are 17 songs in the film, but there could have been like 300. But we just wanted to make sure it felt like the songs we used were songs that had been written for our movie, as opposed to just Bruce songs. And so we were able, because we weren't making a jukebox movie at all. Bruce's words are as much as part of the narrative as our own dialogue, And so we weaved that in. Every decision we made was like, is this something that Bruce is going to like? And then we said, okay, it's in a good place, let's send it to him. So we waited and waited and waited, and finally we got a message back. And we were like, okay, what did he say? What did he say about the characters? What did he say about this? What did he say about that? And the message we got back was, "I'm all good with this. give them what they want. And that's really the great man. And he loved the story. He loved the journey of the character. He loved that it wasn't about him, that it was about Javed. But I think, you know, anyone who's seen Bruce's amazing show on Broadway knows that, you know, he's in a very introspective period, you know, with his book and the show too. So I think he was sort of dealing our timing was great because he really has been looking at legacy, you know, and the own impact of his work, but also what that means for him now at his age and with his family. And so I think the subject matter of our film really spoke to him at this time. And you know, it was moving. You know, here's a kid growing up in Luton against the backdrop of the National Front, you know, kind of far-right organisation, Thatcherism, unemployment, very depressing times. And he relates to, you know, an American-Italian kid writing in New Jersey, you know, in a similar depressing time. And I think Bruce just thought that was very neat, the way that his words sort of fitted that world, and sort of suddenly the sum made it much bigger.